Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden, but we're going to head up towards Gothenburg once again. Göteborg, as you would say in Swedish, the Swedish craft beer capital up there on the west coast. Got to get that catchphrase in on the channel as always with my Gothenburg beers. But for this one we are going to return to a brewery that you've seen me review many things from before, and this is one that I think should be quite interesting, potentially right up my street. So for this review then we are going to return to Beerbliotek, and we're having a taste of the Satsumas for the Boomers today. So this one comes in at 8% ABV, it's a double IPA, and it is number 288 in the Beerbliotek numbering system. This beer was released as part of the Lokal Osmoska League assortment for September of 2020. I've had some very interesting beers from these guys over the years. The thing that I love about Beerbliotek is that they're always trying different things. There's always at least one new beer from these guys every month. So these guys are one of the breweries that I highly recommend you check out if you're interested in Swedish beer. Go and check out their tap rooms if you are in Gothenburg. I do hope that I can do that the next time I'm up there. But yeah, these guys are not afraid to try different styles. They have been experimenting a little bit with sour beers recently from what I understand. So hopefully we can review a few more of those for you at some point fairly soon. But yeah, nice to have Beerbliotek on the channel once again. They seem to release at least one beer every month at the moment. So yeah, always cool to try the new things from them. So yeah, this one I think should be very interesting. A kind of orange infused or Mandarin infused IPA from what I understand. So fingers crossed it's a good one. I hope that you guys enjoy this, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. So yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Beerbliotek before. This must be review number 15 or so that I've done from this brewery, and there will no doubt be more in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Beerbliotek then, on to my brewery notes. So Beerbliotek, as I've told you before, are based in Gothenburg, Göteborg, and the company was founded back in 2013 by a multinational group of friends. This is Adam Norman, who's from Australia, Richard Bull, who's from New Zealand, Anders Hedlund, who's Swedish, and then Darrell Denecker, who's from South Africa. So Adam and Richard ran Bar Doppio in Gothenburg, and then Darrell and Anders were regular customers at the bar, and they often just used to sit and talk about different kinds of beer together. And then one day they decided that they were going to get their own brewing kit and start to make their own, and it went very well for them, I have to say. So the original brewery that these guys had is in the old Klippan Sugar building. And this is a really nice old building that's very close to the old Carnegie Brewery in Gothenburg, quite a famous company actually. But the brew kit that they had was from Brewfab in Scotland, and in their first year they apparently brewed 38 different varieties of beer, and all of their beers were originally brewed in very small batches, and this meant that they could stick to their home brewing roots of very rarely brewing the same beer. And for a long time they didn't have a fixed range, and I think technically they still don't, but what I would say is that there are a number of beers from Beerbliotek that come back kind of time and again, if you like. You do see things like A Passion for Gingers, the Moment of Clarity Session IPA as well. You do see these things coming out all the time, and there are iterations of different beers every year. There's the Eternal Dankness, they've got a new version of that comes out every year. The Eternal Darkness as well, the Imperial Stout, that seems to have a new version every year as well actually. So yeah, Beerbliotek, they are kind of they are always sort of tweaking recipes and things like that, but they do have a very high output in terms of new beers actually. They don't release everything that they do through Systembolaget, unfortunately. I would love to try even more beers from these guys, but yeah, unfortunately, as I say, not all of them make it into the nationalised system. But yeah, in 2015 these guys opened a second brewery in Kungston, which is now where they have their main tap room and main brewing operations. The old brewery is used for just producing sour beers at the moment from what I gather, and they are working on a barrel aging programme in the brewery now as well. You've seen me review one beer from that, but they haven't really released, I think they have actually only released one from that barrel aging programme so far. So yeah, hopefully there's a few more come out from that at some point fairly soon. I think the only one I had was the Would I Lie to You, and I can't remember exactly what kind of beer it was, but it was really damn good actually. So I do hope we get more from the barrel aged series. They have got a Scotch ale in that barrel aged series that I would absolutely love to try. But yeah, the idea behind the name Beerbliotek is that these guys wanted to brew a wide variety of beers so that the customer was always learning about a new hop or a new malt or something like this. So it's basically the idea of creating a library of beers, and they have done that fairly successfully over the last while. But as of September 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced just over 265 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. So yeah, as you can tell, with this one being number 288, there have been a few different beers that have just been kind of thrown away because they didn't make it. But I think, you know, when there's a difference of only about 20 there, I think that is pretty damn good going actually. Maybe there's a few sort of secret beers that they haven't done yet, but yeah, 265 beers listed on Untappd is a pretty good achievement actually. And like I said, these guys are not scared to try different styles, and you'll get some really interesting things from them. The beer that I reviewed last month, for example, that was a dark wheat wine, and that was a very, very quirky beer. It was quite hard to place exactly what that was, but as I say, it kind of shows you just how experimental they are. So definitely this is a brewery that I would highly recommend that you guys take a look at if you're interested in Swedish beer. Gothenburg has a great beer scene these days. There's lots of really interesting breweries up there, so do make sure that you go and check them out. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Beerbliotek for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all those different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's go on and actually have a taste of this beer then. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this before we open it up. As you can see, the artwork here is pretty typical of what you normally get from Beerbliotek. This kind of bee with the book edge to it is their symbol. One of the things I do love about these Beerbliotek beers is they always put the kind of Swedish they always put the sort of Swedish flag on them. I think that's pretty cool. But it says on here, we understand that back in your day a Mandarin could only be labelled a Mandarin, but things have changed. At Beerbliotek we choose to accept and love without labels. We love all citrus at beerbliotek.com. So yeah, sure, awesome. But yeah, as I say, I think this one, a double IPA, 8% ABV, and I think obviously it's going to be infused a little bit with Satsumas, which is a type of Mandarin. So yeah, let's get this guy out then and we'll get on with the tasting. 330ml can. As I said to you, this one was released as part of the Lokal och Småskaligt assortiment for Systembolaget in September 2020, I should say. So yeah, very curious about this one. I love my orangey leaning IPAs, as I've told you on the channel numerous times before. My favourite hop back in the day was always Amarillo. I loved a bit of Amarillo, and now you've got Mosaic, you have Azaka, you've got Sabro that's got a good orangey character to it as well. You have you've got Pacifica from New Zealand. I think Waiti, I remember, has a good bit of orange character to it. You've got Mandarin Bavaria from Germany as well, actually, which has some lovely kind of orangey notes to it as well. But yeah, I have to say, in terms of appearance, this definitely looks like more of a West Coasty type IPA. If I shine the light through this, it has got a little bit of haze to it, but it is more of a kind of West Coasty looking IPA, this one. But yeah, as you can see, this beer is poured with about a third finger of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there. But yeah, if I put my fingers behind this glass, I'm not sure how well it's going to show up on the camera, but yeah, there is a degree of haze to this one, but nowhere near as hazy as some of the New England IPAs that you're going to find these days. But yeah, a nice looking beer. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we got. Nothing overly surprising about the appearance of this beer then. Ooh, yeah, okay. So yeah, straight away with this one, you're going to get that big, you can tell that there's, you know, fruit added to the brew right away just because of it comes across as a very wet beer, this one, in terms of its aroma, almost a bit leafy as well actually. But yeah, the malt base of this one comes across quite nicely. It has more of a sort of West Coasty smelling malt base, to be honest with you. Bit of a nice kind of smooth bready note to it, maybe a little bit of a bread crusty quality as well. But yeah, you can feel that forming the backbone of the beer, and the further you go into the aroma with this one, the more you smell of it. I think it does gradually build up and be a little bit sweeter, but yeah, a nice kind of white bready, bread crusty malt base to this one. You get a good bit of sweetness out of this one, I would say. There is a bit of straight up caramel in this, but it does have a little bit of a kind of biscuity note in there as well. Yeah, it's interesting that it's a very, as I say, the malt base that you get out of this one, it is like a kind of European brewed West Coast type IPA malt base that's in here. I don't think there's much more complexity to the malt base than that. As I say, a bit of caramel, bit of biscuit, then that kind of bready base to it. I think that is it, to be honest. You do get a few kind of grainy notes from the bread as well, and those are a bit more apparent the further you go into the aroma. But otherwise, yeah, smooth, bready, bread crusty, a little bit of sweet caramel in there, but then the rest of the aroma is all about the fruit and the hops, of course. So for me, you do get a wee touch of earthiness out of this one. That would make me think that there's a bit of mosaic in this beer. You do have some nice kind of floral aromaticity to the beer. It doesn't come across as overly pungent, which makes me think I don't reckon this beer will be madly bitter, to be honest with you. There's a bit of grassiness in there, but really it's that big orangey note that comes out of this one, the Satsumas or the Mandarins, whatever you want to call them. So yeah, it's got a lovely kind of brightness to it, this beer. Very, very citrusy, but it doesn't come across as madly zesty in the aroma. I really like how that how this one goes together actually. The aroma that you get out of this beer, I think, is very, very nice. It's very kind of straight up. It's not the most complex aroma I think that I've come across from Beerbliotek, but it's nice. Sometimes simplicity is better, but yeah, big oily mandarin-y oranges out of this one. There's maybe one or two tiny hints of like pineapple or something, a very light tropical note in behind that. But yeah, for me the aroma of this beer is very, very straight up and straight shooting. The orangey notes, you can detect a little bit of an oily orange in there as well. Maybe there's a wee bit of Amarillo, I don't know. But yeah, you do get some nice big floral kind of hoppy notes out of it. All the orangey hops are fairly high in alpha acid. Probably the lowest one that I mentioned earlier would be Mandarin of Bavaria, which I think is about 8-9% alpha acid. I can't remember, maybe the Waiheke in New Zealand is a little bit lower in alpha acid as well. Quite a few of those New Zealand hops have a hell of a lot of fruit to them, but they are fairly low alpha acid, like 7-8% a lot of them, so that potentially could be as well. But yeah, there is a good bit of floral aromaticity out of this one, so I'm going to guess American hops, to be honest with you. But yeah, the aroma coming out of this beer, the more you smell of it, the more the more kind of floral it gets, the more orangey and citrusy it gets. So yeah, aroma for this one for me is pretty straight shooting, but it comes across very, very nicely. I have to just say I'm very, very curious to try this one, so we're not going to go anymore. Let's have a taste of this beer then. So this one is called Satsumas for the Boomers, number 288 in the Beerbliotek numbering system, a double IPA coming in at 8% ABV, released as part of the Lokales Moskalikt assortment for September 2020 in Systembolaget. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål. Ooh, yeah. I like this one. Yeah, for me, this just kind of hits the spot. Well done to Beerbliotek. I will say straight up, well done to Beerbliotek. Yeah, this one is definitely a bit more West Coasty in its character, I have to say. You can feel it's a bit boozy as well. I like this. This one, I think it's definitely not the most kind of complex of IPAs that I've had from Beerbliotek. But I think this one, it has got a good bit of dankness to it as well, actually. In fairness, the bitterness in this one really does build the further you go into the aftertaste, and I certainly like that about it. Yeah, this one strikes me as being a bit more old school actually, but I'm pretty sure this is a fruit IPA. It's a fruit double IPA. Yeah, for me, this is quite in kind of in contrast to Alone in a Field of Plenty, because that was a really quite complex but also quite quirky beer. This one for me is very much a straight shooter. And this is what you get with Beerbliotek. Every beer has its own kind of individual character, and that's what I really like about this brewery, is that they are not scared to try different things. They're really not. And for me, this is a very much a kind of straight shooting beer, and I love the orangey IPAs. So take my review with this one maybe with a pinch of salt, because I do love orangey flavours for me. They just go down very, very well. So yeah, I like this one. Where to start with this beer then? Straight away then, across the middle of the palate you get a nice little bit of a kind of grainy, brown bready quality in there. You can feel this beer actually does get quite grainy and quite bitter, I think, the further you go into the aftertaste. But yeah, nice kind of brown bready, grainy bread crust there, blanket in the middle of your tongue. As you go towards the back third of your palate, I think it's a bit more grainy and a bit more pungent on the back of the palate. But as you move further forward into the centre of your into the kind of centre of your tongue, you start to get a bit more out of this one. You can feel that it has a kind of almost like a wee circle in the middle of your palate, and you get some nice oily biscuity characters out of this one. You get a bit of a sweeter caramel in the middle of your palate, but I really find this one kind of biscuity, to be honest with you. There's quite a graininess, I find, underneath this beer. Could there be a bit of rye in this one? Let's see. Could there be? No, actually, it doesn't say there's rye in it. It just says what? Well, it just says malt, right enough. It doesn't tell you what kind of malts are in this one. But yeah, this beer has mandarins added to it. But yeah, I guess Satsuma is, I think, the Japanese word for mandarin, if I remember rightly. But yeah, you do get that. You do get a good bit of a grainy underline to this one. Some sweet caramel in the middle of the palate, the biscuity notes, like I said. But I think this beer really gets kind of grainy the further you go into the aftertaste, and more of the bitterness comes out actually, which is really interesting. But yeah, this gets a thumbs up from me. I like this one. I certainly like how this goes together. Yeah, let's move on to the hoppy side of things then. Back corners of the palate, there is a good little touch of earthiness out of this one. As you move further forward along the side of the palate, you can really feel that nice kind of big floral aromatic bitterness. It does have a wee touch of dankness to it as well. Could there be a wee touch of Chinook or something in this to give it that level of dankness? I don't know, because I don't remember Mosaic having that kind of level of dankness to it, although in fairness, hops, they can change a little bit in character depending on when you add them in the brew. If you add Mosaic earlier on in the boil, if you like, I'm sure you would get a bit more kind of dankness and floral qualities out of it. So maybe that's what they've done. Maybe if there is, there isn't so much in the way of grapefruit, which you'd normally expect from Chinook, but I would not be surprised if it's Chinook as the bittering hop in this one, then Mosaic is added a little bit later on. That wouldn't surprise me about this beer. But yeah, as you go round the front curve of the palate, the beer is a little bit lighter and grassy, but you can feel, as you always get when they add fruit into the brew, you get that some of the IBUs around the edge of the palate there are quite are kind of suppressed a little bit by the kind of fruits. You get a lot of that. You get a big kind of zesty. You do get that big kind of zesty, almost sour character from the mandarins in this one. You can really feel that pushing in to where you'd normally get the kind of bitter edge to the beer actually, and it's really nice. As I say, I really like this one. So yeah, this beer, it does get sweeter and sweeter the further that you go into the aftertaste. So yeah, on that front third of the tongue then, this is where you get all the fruity notes. So if you go towards the back of that front third of the palate, there is a wee bit of that dark, really pungent, almost that dark, almost like very pungent Chinook-like grapefruit flavour. I would not be surprised if there's Chinook in this one, just going by the way that's coming out. I was a bit unsure about the grapefruit earlier, but now that I kind of focus on that front third of the palate, I think there might be. But yeah, as you come further forward from that stronger sort of almost dark grapefruit flavour just kind of fades away a little bit. Then you start to get more and more of the orangey notes out of this one. I do suspect, I think it's Chinook and Mosaic that have been used as the hops in this, and I wouldn't be surprised as you reach the kind of front third of your palate, you do as you reach the front of that front third of your palate, sorry, you do get a more oily, tangerine-y, orangey note coming out of this one. So yeah, I really like how that goes together in this beer. For me, that comes across very, very nicely. So yeah. But yeah, definitely more of a nice, big, oily, bright orange on that very front kind of tip of your palate. Actually, a lovely oily character. But yeah, around the very front edge of the palate, big, juicy kind of mandarin notes, and you can feel this beer. It really feels quite bitter. I think this might be I want to say this one's at least 60 IBUs. This does have a bit of that West Coasty bitterness to it, and I think that suits it very, very well. Yeah, 8% ABV. Yeah, you do get that booziness out of it, in fairness. You can feel a bit of warmth down here, and you do get that from the further you go into the aftertaste. You can feel a bit more of that kind of boozy brown sugar coming out of the beer, and I like how that I do like how that goes together. But yeah, the big zesty orangey notes around the edge of the palate there are really quite nice actually. But thumbs up to Beerbliotek for this one. I dare say that there would be some people that say you know, this maybe isn't the best beer that they've had from Beerbliotek, and I think it might be because, you know, it's not a New England. I think that's one of the things for me. Just bear in mind when I review this one, I love orangey leaning IPAs, so this one really is very up my street. That's why I like it so much. Some people, I think, might prefer some of the other IPAs. But Eternal Dankness, I think, it's probably one of my favourite beers I've had from Beerbliotek. In fairness, I've had a lot of good beers from Beerbliotek. It's kind of hard to think off the top of the head which one would be my favourite one, to be honest with you. I enjoy this brewery. I always think about this brewery as one that I can go and get something different from. That's what I really like about doing the Beerbliotek reviews. But yeah, this is a very kind of straight shooting beer for me. I think you can find more. You can really find more complex IPAs and stuff from Beerbliotek if you look, but these guys I think are pretty damn solid actually. I would highly recommend that you have a go at this brewery if you get the chance. But for me, I really like the big orangey zesty note that this beer has, and the further you go into the aftertaste, more of that big zesty orange comes out. You get the kind of dank bitterness on the side of your palate, and I think there's a wee bit of that earthiness just sort of lingering there as well. But yeah, big thumbs up to Beerbliotek for this one. I think they've done a nice job with this beer. Quite an old school West Coasty type IPA, this one. I'd say West Coasty fruity double IPA in my mind. I've enjoyed this. In terms of the mouthfeel then, what would we say about this? So yeah, for me, this one, I'd say this is kind of top end of mid-bodied, bottom end of full-bodied. The carbonation is very smooth. For me, it's got a big oily mouthfeel, actually, and that kind of suits the orangey zesty notes that you have out of the beer. You have a really nice kind of big bitterness to this one. I think about 60, maybe even 70 IBUs. There's a good bit of bitterness out of this, and that's kind of aided by the big zestiness that the beer has. You've got some lovely oily fruits. It's got a bit of juiciness in it, and yeah, I really like how this one goes together. So yeah, I think that kind of sums up this beer quite nicely. It's a big oily West Coasty leaning IPA, this one, with the big zesty, big kind of orangey zesty flavours to it, so it suits me down to the ground. I've really enjoyed this one. Quite a straight shooting beer from Beerbliotek. Not the most complex thing you're going to find from them, but I think just really nicely executed, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes simplicity is better actually, but you know, solid beer from these guys once again. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the Satsumas for the Boomers. A lovely big orangey IPA, like I said, orangey double IPA from Beerbliotek in Gothenburg. So let's leave it at that. Thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Beerbliotek as well. We will review more from these guys in the coming months. They are releasing at least one beer a month, and I do like to keep up with what these guys are doing. So yeah, check them out if you find yourself in Gothenburg, and enjoy some of their beers, because they have got some really nice things there. But yeah, thank you again for watching. Check out all the social media and things, and I will catch you guys later. The Satsumas for the Boomers, and a double IPA with Mandarin from Beerbliotek in Gothenburg on the west coast of Sweden. Slanja, skål, cheers.